Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Karen Shelton. I am the owner of My Path Unwinding Travel, and I am here with our team of incredible travel advisors who are listening in coast to coast. And we are so excited to welcome our most special guest, Laura Shapiro, who is here from Tauck to share all the reasons that we are so excited to offer Tauck to all of you. We've traveled with Tauck, and we are just really, really thrilled that Laura has agreed to join this webinar so that she can share all the Tauck differences and everything to learn about Tauck. Laura is the senior manager of trade marketing and education. I think I got that right.
It's a mouthful.
She's been with Tauck 27 years, and she's even served as a tour director back in the day. So we are going to go ahead and get started. And Laura, I am starting your presentation right now so we can get going.
Thank you so much, Karen, and to the entire team at My Path Unwinding. Thank you all for being such incredible partners of ours. It is truly a pleasure to be here with you all. Yes, I have been here for 27 years with this incredible company, which is really nothing considering this company has now been around for 100 years. As you can see from our screen here, we are celebrating 100 years. And for those that have not heard of us, don't be too distraught because we are still one of the best kept little secrets in travel. But just a quick overview is we are a family-owned, family-operated company starting in its fourth generation, but currently being run by the third generation of the Tauck family. So that is the family's name, and it is pronounced Tauck. And we are headquartered in Connecticut, which is where I happen to be from, although I'm also based in North Carolina now. So it is a really remarkable story, and we are just back from having our entire company all together in this beautiful city of Florence, Italy, to celebrate 100 years. So I am even more energized and passionate and excited to share Tauck with all of you. So let's go back to where it all began. On the back roads of New England in 1925, a gentleman by the name of Arthur Tauck Sr. had been on the road as a traveling salesman selling coin trays to banks, coin trays that he himself invented after getting fired from a bank job for dropping a cigar box full of coins. And when the manager told him, until you find a better way to handle coins, you do not have a job. Well, he went and invented the coin tray, brought it back to the bank, and they liked it so much that he decided to start his own business selling coin trays. As he was traveling around New England selling these coin trays to banks, he noticed that he saw no leisure travelers and thought, we need some people to come out and see this beauty. So we ran an ad in the newspaper, one time, $69, all inclusive. This was 1925. The concept of all inclusive didn't even exist back then. And those are the wonderful guests that joined our very first tour. So all the way back in 1925, we basically pioneered this idea of escorted touring. Pay one price, include everything up front, and sit back, relax, and have a really good time. And as Arthur put in that very first brochure, all he wants is a congenial party. No grouches and no pessimists allowed. That's my favorite part of that invitation. And here we are, 100 years later, surviving world wars, pandemics, financial crisis, and everything else in between. And we still follow the same values that Arthur Tauck Sr. followed back in 1925. And those are what you see here. To always do the right thing, always focus on people, to have a shared sense of purpose in everything that we do, and to always keep moving forward. And what does that bring? That brings our company's purpose, which is to enrich lives through travel. And we are so incredibly grateful to any of you out there watching that have traveled with Tauck. We hope you have loved your Tauck experiences. And for those of you that have not had the opportunity yet, I hope by the end of the presentation today, you will be truly inspired to experience the world with Tauck. We truly believe that we are one global family. Now, Tauck is a family company. All of us employees truly feel as though we are part of that Tauck family, but our family extends far beyond that. This reaches to our very valued travel advisor partners like Karen and your amazing team. This stretches to all of the dedicated guides that work for Tauck, our local guides that work in all the destinations around the globe, and everybody that works at every hotel, restaurant, museum, and every site that we visit across every continent. They are all part of one global family, and everybody's mission is to ensure that you have a vacation of a lifetime. And if it wasn't for a beautiful world, we wouldn't have the company that we have. So we are very, very passionate about supporting the world and giving back. Because if we don't continue to take care of the places that we visit, they won't be there for the future generations. So we, for the last 6 decades, have been totally committed to making a positive impact in the world. And we've now introduced 3 areas of focus as it comes to sustainability, and they are people, places, and planet. So on many of our journeys, we are doing, wonderful volunteer experiences and making donations and preserving these beautiful sites for all the generations to enjoy. So what is Tauck, and what is the Tauck difference? The Tauck difference is not just about the places that you visit, it's how you experience them. You can certainly visit any museum, visit any location, and say that you saw it. But with Tauck, we really want you to say that you have truly experienced it. So, for example, on the left, this is visiting King Tut's tomb and having the amazing opportunity to do it after hours. This also includes the visit to the Valley of the Kings in Luxor. This is all after the crowds have gone home, an unbelievable experience. In the middle picture, this is a private chateau in France that is owned by a baron, and he greets just the Tauck guests, and he has the opportunity to host us for dinner and then brings us out for a demonstration of his hunting hounds in full regalia. And again, this is for Tauck guests only. Or it could be visiting the Louvre or any number of the world's most famous museums, also, again, after hours when things are closed to the public. It is truly an absolute blessing. We also say that the most memorable trips aren't just about the grand sights that you might see, but it's often those little experiences that you have along the way. It's personal encounters and unexpected moments with locals who love to share their turf, their home turf, with all of you. Or if it's not the people, sometimes it's the wildlife, like you see here. So we are meeting the locals. We're visiting their homes. We're learning about their lifestyles. We're getting a deeper look into the culture, the people, all of the destination reasons of why you want to go to these places. And all of this happens with an amazing Tauck director at the helm. So every single one of our tours and cruises are guided by probably the greatest team of Tauck directors ever in existence. I don't say that because I won one, because I was one, because I would never put myself in that category, but we truly hire the best. They are all employees of our company. They average 10 years of service, and that's probably getting closer to 15, as a matter of fact. They come from 41 countries around the globe and speak 52 languages. They are knowledgeable, they are passionate, they are caring, wonderful individuals whose sole purpose is to give you that vacation of a lifetime. And they are very often the reason why people come back time and time again. One thing to know about Tauck is that once you go once, be prepared to want to come back time and time again. And one of the most common phrases that we hear from clients after going on their very first tour is, why did I not start traveling with Tauck earlier? So don't be one of those people. Get started now. I wanted to also share that for those that travel solo, we so completely welcome solo travelers. You will be safe. You will be in wonderful hands. You will travel in good company. And we also are able to offer some solo travelers some savings. Now, one thing to note about Tauck is that we never go on sale. You're never going to see any sales or offers or discounted pricing because we believe so strongly in the value of what we offer. But there are some special nuances to things that we can do, especially when it comes to solo travelers. So if you're a solo traveler and you go on any of our European river cruises, in our bottom line cabin, our base cabin, which is a category 150 or soon to be 180 square feet on some new vessels we'll be introducing, that is a no single supplement cabin. So you would pay the same per person price as the couple that might book that same cabin. And then on land journeys, there's a reduction in the cost of that solo supplement. So we really encourage any solo travelers who want to see the world to join us. We also, if you have many people that want to travel and you want to travel with groups of friends or family, we have some offers when it comes to group travel. So if you're a group of 10 people that want to all go on the same itinerary together, that 11th traveler is free. And that's one of the only times that you'll ever hear Tauck and free in the same sentence. If it is a Tauck Bridges tour, and we're going to talk at length about Tauck Bridges, that is our multi-generational family brand of travel. It is book 8 and the 9th traveler is free. So if you're a grandmother or grandfather or a parent and you're treating the entire family, you can take that free for yourself, or you can take the value of that and spread it across the entire group. So this is certainly offering peace of mind, fun to travel together with a group of like-minded travelers. And Karen and her team would be more than happy to assist you with any group bookings that you might be interested in. Now, when we talk about our escorted land journeys, we offer 3 different group sizes. So you can choose how you want to see the world. We have what we call our classic groups, which on average have about 38 guests. And these again are on our land journeys. So this would be 38 guests on a full-size motor coach with 1 Tauck director. Then we have what we call small groups, and our small groups average about 24 guests. There is a slight increase in price for these, but these are also often at very boutique and chic hotels. With our classic, we're more at the Grand Dame, like the big, larger, luxurious type style hotels. Our small groups, again, are more boutique type accommodations. And then we even have our new even smaller groups averaging just 15 guests. So if you want the most intimate group size possible, also very often very unique boutique hotels, that is our even smaller groups. And that also has another bit of a premium price. So the price goes up a little bit from classic to small, and then a little bit from small to even smaller. Now, some of the destinations where we offer these even smaller groups of averaging 15 is in North America, in some of the national parks, in Eastern Canada, Hawaii, and the Canadian Rockies in Western Canada. In Europe, we offer those on Switzerland, our Paris, Dordogne, and Bordeaux, which is new itinerary for this year, and a week in Spain. And then 3 itineraries in Africa offering these safaris with just 15 guests: Great Migration, Tanzania and Kenya, Namibia, an epic safari, and Wildlife Odyssey. So if you're interested in learning any more about these, reach out to Karen and her team, and they'll be happy to check availability for you. So let's talk a little bit about the destinations that Tauck can take you to. We'll start right in our own backyard, which is where obviously we got our start back in 1925, right here in North America. And we have been taking guests to the national park since that very first tour through New England in 1925. So we have been taking guests to the parks for 100 years. And the national parks had only started a few years prior to Tauck getting started. So it's like we've all grown up together. When we do the national parks, it is always with inside the park accommodations. And if you know the national parks, you know that those hotels are the hardest to get, the most sought after, and very often need to be booked a year, if not a year and a half or more in advance. With Tauck, we contract for that space, so you don't have to worry about that. You could even book it as close as a few months in. Access that you cannot get on your own, and having that knowledgeable Tauck guide that knows these parks very well. As a Tauck director, you go through 2 full trips that you'll be operating as a guest before you ever run the tour yourself. And then many tour directors continue to do these tours for decades and decades. So they know all the ins and outs. They know when the crowds are largest, when the crowds are fewer. And it is just really having that expert insight into knowing the national parks, where the best viewpoints are. And then we partner with hopefully someone you're familiar with, Ken Burns, who we call America's Storyteller, who has done so many documentaries for PBS on the national parks, jazz, baseball, prohibition. He has one out right now. I think it's still running, about Da Vinci, which I cannot recommend enough. But so Ken Burns and Tauck have an exclusive connection, and he is building content, video content, just for our guests. So if you're traveling on one of these Ken Burns American Journeys, you'll see filmed video vignettes made just for Tauck guests by Ken and his film team. So whether it's the Grand Canyon or beautiful Bryce Canyon right here, or perhaps you've always dreamed of a train trip, this could be either in Colorado, going from Salt Lake City to Denver, or perhaps this is up in the Canadian Rockies, where we partner with Rocky Mountaineer. So we have many options across the US and Canada, all the way from Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island to British Columbia, and all the way from New England to Hawaii, and so many places in between. Moving on to Europe. Now, we remained a North American tour operator for almost 80 years, and it wasn't until early in the 1990s that we decided to expand to Europe. So I always like to say, Tauck wants to make sure we do it right before we introduce something new. So we took our time and developed what at the time we called the Yellow Roads of Europe. And that stemmed from Arthur Sr., the son of the founder who took over for his father in the 50s, late 50s. And he had spent time in the war in Europe, and he also loved to bike and he loved to hike. And so what he wanted to do was develop tours that took people on the back roads, that gave them the most authentic views of Europe, to drive past the vineyards, to see the laundry hanging out on the line, to see the kids playing in their yards, just giving them that amazing opportunity. So hence the Yellow Roads of Europe were born, because the yellow roads were the yellow roads on the Michelin maps that were the back roads, the roads less traveled. And to this day, all these decades later, when we've been operating in Europe, our goal is to ensure that you are having the most authentic, culturally curious experience possible, whether that includes a pasta making class, or sipping wine in the middle of the vineyard under the beautiful trees in Tuscany, or visiting the beautiful Trulli houses in Puglia. Going off the beaten path is what we love most to do. We also offer those unique opportunities to see some of the world's most sought after museums after hours. Imagine being the only person standing in the room of the Rijksmuseum, or of so many of the world's best art museums, and having that time to connect with those beautiful paintings. We're also known for using the finest accommodations, and often the hotels are what draw people to Tauck because some of these hotels would be not only hard to get, but also very expensive to do independently. But because of our long heritage, our buying power, and the amount of guests we bring to so many of these destinations, like Italy, this is in Florence, we have negotiated really great rates to offer great value to you. So whether it's the Westin Excelsior, which is just steps from the Ponte Vecchio, you can see the little bit of the Ponte Vecchio in the background. Again, we were just standing there less than a week ago. So beautiful. Or it could be the magnificent Marquis de Riscal, which is a hotel, although it looks like a museum in northern Spain. And this hotel was designed by the world famous architect Frank Gehry, who also you might know for having designed the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao. These are just two examples of the unbelievable accommodations that you will experience in Europe. And all of our tours include the majority of the meals, include all of the sightseeing, transfers before and after. So, really, all you have to do is show up, sit back, relax, and have a wonderful time. Now, moving on to our global journeys and safaris. These are those bucket list adventures, whether it has been always on your list to explore Japan, either during cherry blossoms, with the crowds, or perhaps not during cherry blossom time, where hopefully there aren't as many crowds, but Japan is always in our top 5 destinations. Or it could be India and staying at easily some of the finest hotels anywhere in the world, the magnificent Oberoi properties. And yes, this is a hotel that you would stay at on our India tour. Or perhaps it's going down under on our 20-day Australia and New Zealand journey that is completely fit with charter flights across all of Australia and all of New Zealand, making the travel across these two very large countries very easy. Or perhaps it's that dream African safari to see these curious giraffe in front of Mount Kilimanjaro, or going down to Cape Town in South Africa. Now, in my 27 years with Tauck, I have been very lucky to travel to so many places across the globe, but I will never forget the first time I saw that giraffe in person. I cried, and I will say Africa is one of my favorite places anywhere in the world. So that is our global journeys and safaris. And we actually have 10 different African safaris across East Africa and South Africa. So lots of options there. I'm going to touch very briefly about some cruising. While I want to be conscious of our time today and not taking too much of your precious time, I do want to just let you know that Tauck does river and small ship cruising. Now, we do not own the vessels. We are basically leasing or chartering space on these boats. So we can cruise the European waterways on one of 9 riverboats, soon to be 10 in 2026, as we introduce new boats on the Rhone and the Seine rivers. But we sail the Rhine, the Main, the Danube, the Rhone, the Seine, the Douro, and probably others. They are truly beautiful. Karen herself has experienced Tauck River cruising, has stayed on our ship, and has sailed on our ship. So she is definitely an expert when it comes to the Tauck difference in European river cruising. And we have a plethora of journeys, very often including hotel nights before and after the cruise, to really make it a wonderful immersive experience. Our river cruises carry a maximum of 130 guests, and the smallest boat, carries just 84 guests. This is the boat that sails on the Douro River. And another point I'll make about our river cruising is that we are truly all inclusive. So even the gratuities to your Tauck director, to the ship staff, are built into your cruise cost. Are all the shore excursions, all the beverages on board, alcoholic and non-alcoholic, all of your shore experiences, hotels, meals on the ship and off the ship, And we have something that we call lanyards. And lanyards are little surprises. So even those are built into these unforgettable European river cruises. Now, there are places best seen by ships, and these ships would be small ships for Tauck. And we like to say that small is big. So, small ship cruising can take you to Antarctica, to Iceland, throughout the coasts of Croatia and the Mediterranean, to Japan and the Galapagos Islands, and many, many more. And it is all about small ships that go where the big ships don't go. Some of our partners with small ship cruising include Silversea, Windstar Cruises, Metropolitan Touring in the Galapagos, and one other that is escaping my mind at the moment, but a plethora of small ship cruise options if small ship cruising is of interest to you. And then lastly, I will close out with one of my favorite brands to talk about, one of Karen's too, as she herself has experienced this as well. It is Tauck Bridges. And Tauck Bridges is bridging the gap between generations. This is our multi-generation brand that brings all of the ages together for life-changing travel experiences. We all know that those gifts given during the holidays can be forgotten, but the gift of travel is something that will live on in their memories forever. So, as a family company, we wanted to create multi-generational travel experiences for the generations to all enjoy together. This happens to be 3 generations all going on safari for an unforgettable vacation. Here is a group of a lot of ladies and one single gentleman in that picture. Oh, the poor kid. But they are having the time of their lives. And you can see the wide range of ages from teens all the way down to the younger ones. We say on average, our recommended youngest age is about 7. This particular group was on a river cruise where we'll allow ages 5 and above. And do note that our bridges itineraries are almost always going to have kids, but our non-bridges itineraries do not tend to have kids. So if you're not interested in traveling with the little ones, if you're booking any of the other Tauck land or cruise journeys, you shouldn't have to worry about it. So all of the families primarily book Tauck Bridges. And this is an incredible few family shots in Machu Picchu. So really seeing the world together. I just wanted to highlight a few itineraries for anyone still looking for a family vacation this summer that still have space in some unforgettable locations like Italia Bella, Rome to Venice. And I was literally there in Pisa taking almost that exact same picture about 6 days ago. I did not have that crystal blue sky. I was there with rain, but it was well worth it. So this is an itinerary that goes from Rome to Venice, goes through Tuscany, Florence, goes out to Pisa, of course, and then takes the high-speed train up to Venice. You can ride around Florence in a vintage Fiat 500 with an expert driver. You do not need to do the driving. You will visit a 17th century cooking school to learn the art of making the perfecto gelato. And you'll enjoy a private cruise aboard a pirate ship on the waterways of Venice, just to name a few of the activities. Then we have the Sweet Life, Rome and Sorrento, which begins in Rome, takes the high-speed train down to Naples, and then explores Sorrento and the Amalfi Coast. Here, you can learn to make the perfect pizza, as you can see in the picture here, learn to dance the tarantella, the famous Italian dance, attend a gladiator school and learn how to be a perfect gladiator. They will visit the Sistine Chapel and the Vatican museums when the crowds are fewer. And on the Isle of Capri, you'll take a high-speed ferry over to the beautiful Isle, and then while there, ride around in private convertibles for the most magnificent views from that beautiful island. So those are just a few of the activities on the Sweet Life. And then we have Castles and Kings, London to Paris, where you can enjoy a spy walk, take a tour of the British Museum, take in some theater in London's West End, enjoy a private double-decker bus ride around London and a private capsule on the famous London Eye. And then during your time in Paris, you will visit Versailles. You will have a scavenger hunt inside the Louvre and have some Parisian magic at the farewell dinner on London to Paris. And I thought it fitting to close out with a quote from a granddaughter that she wrote in a message to her grandmother following a Tauck Bridges trip. That goes, "Dear Grandma, I will never, ever forget that Red Rocks and Painted Canyons trip. It was the highlight of my summer. That was some of the most fun I've ever had. I also loved having you to myself for one whole week. You're the best grandma in the whole entire world. Thank you for everything. Love, Scout." And this is truly what it's all about, why we do what we do. And the sweet Scout has now grown up. She's in high school. She's gone on another Tauck trip and has another one scheduled. And hopefully someday she'll come and work for us. So we are definitely changing lives. So no matter where in the world it is, and no matter when it might be, we certainly look forward to hosting you on a Tauck adventure in the not too distant future. For more information and some exclusive special offers that we have as a thank you for watching us, please contact our dear friends at My Path Unwinding at 980-292-1505 or at info@mypathunwinding.com. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Karen. I so appreciate it. Shall we see if we have any questions?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Laura. That was just like a whole journey around the world and then that last letter from Scout to her grandma,
The
that
sweetest.
is amazing. And, having experienced Tauck Bridges in Ireland, I totally understand just the family memories that are made. And, we saw so many different kinds of families on that trip through Ireland with grandparents and their, their grandchildren maybe celebrating a special milestone. We saw families traveling together, um, single parents traveling, like all kinds of folks, and it's just such an incredible way to travel with your family, no matter what the age. We saw, young kids, and then we saw families with young adult kids as well,
Exactly.
and I just loved it. So inspired to hear the story of Tauk and the 100 years. Congratulations!
Thank
It's
you.
just such an honor to work with such an incredible company that has such solid, long-standing values. So we really, really appreciate it.
And
We
we
do have a few
appreciate you.
questions. Um, I'd like to hear a little bit more about kids on Tauck Bridges. You mentioned some of the ages. Do they have different recommendations for the ages, like per itinerary?
We sure do. So, whether you might be exploring the website or looking in our brochures, which of course Karen and the team can get to you, every single Bridges itinerary has a recommended age, and that recommended age is carefully chosen based on the activities of that tour. So, for example, we operate a Bridges tour in Costa Rica, and that's going to include such things as whitewater rafting and zip lining. Those experiences might require a little bit older, or if it's not necessarily based on age, sometimes it'll be based on weight. So even when I was tour guiding, I was guiding in Yellowstone and the Grand Tetons, and I know that we did a raft trip on the Snake River, and even if the age was appropriate, they had to be a right size for the life vest to go on the raft. So there might even be times where the age doesn't matter, but there could be a circumstance where perhaps a child might not be the right size, kind of like, in theme parks when you have to be a certain height to, ride the rides. But there is a recommended age pretty much on average. Like I said, it's about 7 or 8 across most of the itineraries. But we do, as you said, welcome older children, young adults, and the teens, as you saw in the lovely little picture of all the girls with the one boy, from the little ones all the way down to the teens, they all just get along. They have a great time. The older children tend to sort of take the little ones under their wing. And it's really magical that they start, the first night of the tour as a group of strangers. And by the end of the trip, these days they're sharing social media, phone numbers, email
Exactly.
addresses, and it is just making friendships for life.
Exactly. So I think there might be some that go down as low as perhaps 4, but I know there's nothing that's below that. So this is
Definitely
not the
not.
type of travel to bring your toddlers or your
Exactly.
infants, and you won't experience that if you're on any Tauck itinerary. So that's good to know. One question to point out is about accommodations for families,
Mhm.
especially sometimes there's families that have, maybe a family of 3 or a family of 5. How does Talc handle those situations?
So the best news there is that we have 4 different options. There's single rooms, double rooms, triple rooms, or quad rooms. Now, as this
Amazing.
applies to cruising, river cruising specifically, our 300 square foot suites can easily accommodate a family of 4 in one cabin. It has a walk-in closet, so it makes it easy, becomes a dressing room for some, and plenty of storage in there even for 4 people's clothing. A very large bathroom as well. And it has a pull-out sofa. So 2 children could sleep on the pull-out sofa and have the parents or grandparents in the regular beds. But you can also choose to do 2 double cabins side by side. They're not adjoining, unfortunately, but they're right next door to each other. So you would have an adult and a child in one room, adult and a child in the other room. We have quadruple pricing on land as well. It depends on the hotels, but most American and European hotel rooms aren't quite large enough for 4 people. So very often it does end up being 2 rooms. But it is important to note that everyone must be booked with someone 18 and over in each room or each cabin. So it's easy to accommodate any combination of those family sizes.
Perfect. And we had a question also about why would someone choose river cruising over a land tour or vice versa? And, I will just point out, if you reach out to me, I can send you another podcast that we did all about Talc River cruising. As Laura mentioned, I got to experience it last year. It was incredible. And I got to experience Tauck Bridges in Ireland this year. So I can give you some of that. But I'd love to hear from you, Laura, about what you think about land versus river.
So honestly, the easiest answer to that is the difference with river cruising is you don't have to pack and unpack. And it is
Exactly.
probably one of the greatest selling points about river cruising. What people love so much is you basically get to the riverboat, you unpack, you live out of that stateroom, whether it's a 8-day river cruise, a 12-day river cruise, or our longest 24-day river cruise, which is basically like making that your home. So that's one of the biggest differences. Now, on some of our river cruises, we have hotel stays before and after, so you will have to, pack and unpack a couple times. But that's the biggest difference. And European river cruising, my favorite thing about it is that you get to see so much in one trip. You can get to see 4, 5, 6 different countries, so many different cultures on one trip. So it really covers a large span of destinations, but there are places best seen by land. There are places that don't have water, like many of the national parks. So I always say choose the destination that is, in your heart, that is of most interest to you, and then see how Tauck does that destination. Because there are plenty of companies that do destinations that might not be the best way to do it. And we really pride ourselves on choosing, do Iceland by small ship cruise, do the Danube by riverboat, do, Italy perhaps as a land journey because a lot of it is landlocked. So anyway, it's really choosing the destination and then the best way to see it. But definitely the no packing and unpacking is a major benefit.
Makes a lot of sense to me. Laura, I want to thank you again for your time. It's been super inspiring. Great to hear that there might be some space available on Tauck Bridges, Italy. That's probably the only way I would recommend going to Italy this summer, is because we know Tauck has all the hotel space and all the tours lined up. So it'll be the truly hassle-free way to see it. But that's the way to go with all of Tauck's destinations. So I want to thank you again. Thank everybody for listening. Please reach out to the My Path Unwinding Travel advisor who invited you to watch this webinar. Reach out to me directly at info@mypathunwinding.com. We have lots of resources to share, lots of information. And as you can see, we have an incredible relationship with the wonderful folks over at Tauck, so we can always make sure all of your questions are answered. Have a great night, everybody, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again, Laura.